What it do, cuckolds? It's your boy, the Hater, up in this space here, I'm saying. And it's an episode of Hater Outdoors, Hater at Night, nighttime hate up in this phone, you know what I mean? Now, the video that I wanted to make today is going to be preceded by a little anecdote that connects. One of the Hater's favorite moments in the history of TNA wrestling was his throwaway X Division Battle Royal involving two wrestlers. I remember only two of them. Puma, who is not Prince Puma, which is Ricochet. I believe Puma was TJP in a mask, like early, right? And a guy named Incognito. And I remember thinking, wow, Incognito, what a weird name for a wrestler, right? But I guess it makes sense because, you know, you don't know what's behind the mask. The match is only noteworthy for one reason. Kevin Nash comes in and starts beating up all the cruiserweights. Then Kevin Nash picks up the mic and cuts an underrated promo where he says, was one of those guys named Incognito, or was this an Incognito Battle Royal? Because I didn't recognize anyone in this ring. And that, combined with one of the comments from one of you in my Rey Mysterio video, where one of you very intelligently said, you pointed out something that the Hater hadn't thought of before. And that is that Rey Mysterio, and they were correct, Rey Mysterio is a household name. People know Rey Mysterio. As a matter of fact, I would even go as far as saying that when people think of Lucha Libre, they think of only Rey Mysterio. Nobody thinks of El Gran Metalik. Like, nobody knows these people. These guys are complete nobodies. It's basically Rey Mysterio and a bunch of Rey Mysterio ripoffs. That's all that Lucha Libre is, right? The entire thing is predicated on Rey Mysterio. He's the only one to become famous while wearing a mask. Like, literally, there's not one other one, right? I'm talking about in America and worldwide. I don't mean in Guadalajara, Mexico. I'm sure there's plenty of famous people. But Rey Mysterio is famous worldwide. Now, if you take a picture of Stone Cold today and you go to the mall and ask people, who's this guy? If you're asking people who are 25 or older, they'll probably know, right? Most people, I think, would know, right? At the very least, they'll be like, isn't it that wrestler? Like, they'll have an idea, right? Now, if you took a picture of, I don't know, let's say Drew McIntyre's face, because if you see his physique, you might ascertain that he's a wrestler. But if you just see his face, you'd be like, I have no idea who that is. Is he the kicker for the Green Bay Packers? Is he maybe a hockey player? Nobody's going to know who he is, right? And you know what? Quite frankly, same thing with Roman Reigns. Like, he's obviously more mainstream than every other wrestler now, but he's not a household name, right? He's not a household name. Now, a household name is the highest level you can achieve as a celebrity, right? Famous celebrities aren't always household names. But for example, like Robert De Niro, Denzel Washington, Beyonce, Taylor Swift, this level of entertainer are household names. Amongst them, we also probably have very, very few, but very, very noteworthy wrestlers, right? You know, The Undertaker. You could argue he's a household name. Sting, for example, is a great example, right? I recently rewatched The Crow, the original movie, and I wanted my fiance to watch it with me, but she had never seen it apparently. I was like, what, you never seen The Crow? But then I showed her a picture of the guy from The Crow and a picture of Sting. She's like, yeah, I've seen that guy, Sting. She recognized Sting. She never watched wrestling. She grew up in Brazil, right? And she still knows who Sting is. You see what I'm saying? Like, people just know who these people are. Nobody at all knows who Roman Reigns is. And sure as shit, you know, one of the people in my comments made a point about how Kevin Nash is better than Rey Mysterio. I like Kevin Nash, but absolutely no, he's not. Like, you go to the mall, you show 10 people Kevin Nash, no one's gonna know who he is. Like, in the 90s, maybe 5 people would know. 4 people would know. Like, 10 people would know Stone Cold. Like, 10 people, you go to the mall, you show people a picture of Vince McMahon, they know it's Vince McMahon. You show them Ric Flair, they know it's Ric Flair. You show them Kevin Nash, they're like, oh, isn't that the guy from The Longest Yard who took the estrogen and was being weird? That's what they're gonna say probably, if they even recognize him, you know what I mean? Household names are a thing of the past for wrestling, right? But Rey Mysterio is a bona fide household name. Now this got me thinking, why? Why are household names a thing of the past for wrestling, right? Well, obviously it's because wrestling is no longer mainstream, but it's also because there are no longer any wrestlers that do anything interesting, right? So for example, and I hate to say it like this because I'm not trying to incentivize bad behavior, right? You could maybe argue, for example, that Benoit is a household name because of the fact that he's a murdering piece of shit, right? But people that are newsworthy become household names. Now, obviously, the hater's not advocating that people do bad things to become household names. That's not even worth it. You also want to be a household name in the good sense, right? That you have some sort of respect. But the reality is, wrestling no longer produces or even tries to produce household names, right? They're content, and I get it, I understand why. They're content with producing mediocrity, right? And the reason why they produce mediocrity is, I mean, I think it speaks for itself. There's a few soldiers, there's a few Stings and Undertakers, there's a few of those, you know what I mean? I'll even give credit to Triple H, right? But everybody else always thought of wrestling as a stepping stone. Let's be real. Like, I don't think it's unfair to say that The Rock never had a real passion for wrestling, right? As soon as he could leave, he left. He was like in his early 30s. You know, when The Rock came back and people started chanting, "You still got it," he was 38. He was younger than Cody Rhodes when Cody Rhodes won the world title. You know what I mean? That's how old The Rock was. People were like, they were chanting, "You still got it." But to Cody, they chant, "You deserve it," because up until 38, he has achieved absolutely nothing. See what I'm saying? Things have changed. People like Stone Cold, people like Cucky, people like The Rock, even Cucky himself, right? People like John Cena even. They don't really give a shit about wrestling, right? And I'm not saying it as a bad thing, right? It is what it is. Brock Lesnar's another one, right? They don't care. They want to use it to make money and to promote themselves. Like John Cena, he left, like he's been part-time for like 8 years, 6, 7 years at least, right? Since WrestleMania, like 20, whatever, the one that I saw where he beat The Rock for the title, he's pretty much been irrelevant. Like he lost the title after that one, after he won his big moment. Yeah, that was the crown achievement of John Cena, beating The Rock at WrestleMania. And then after that, he quickly became a part-timer. That was like 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago, Cux. You know? And fine, let's say that he wrestled for a few more years, but he used the WWE to get to his next career. Sometimes I'll watch TV and I'll hear a commercial, it'll be like some Subaru commercial, and it's like John Cena's voice and he's like, "4-wheel drive." Then it's like he's hosting some goofy-ass Nickelodeon show and it's like, you could be doing WWE instead of this. But he doesn't want to, right? Why would he like bust his ass and work like a 235-day schedule when he could just not do that, right? And that's the thing. And there's nothing wrong with that. But because so many people did that, right? Because so many people like Brock Lesnar and Kurt Angle and everybody else became household names. Not Kurt Angle, he was never a household name. But Brock Lesnar is a household name. He's a massive draw. John Cena is. I mean, not as much as The Rock, but he is. The Rock, Stone Cold. A lot of these guys took that opportunity and they went and made a lot more money, right? And also vice versa, right? So like people like Ronda Rousey became household names because of the UFC, and then she took that to WWE to make more money, right? Logan Paul is another one, right? He's a household name. People know who he is, right? And he leveraged that to get a $5 million contract while people like Obafemi and Kevin Owens will wrestle for whatever the fuck they give them. You know what I mean? Like, think about this. All your heroes, everyone that you people like, right, that I keep saying are jobbers, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Obafemi, Trick Williams, all of them combined make less money than Logan Paul, who wrestles like 4 matches a year. You know what I'm saying? Like, being a draw is important. You see what I'm saying? Being a draw is important. Being a household name is important. But the idea was exactly that. It was like, wait a second. We keep making household names, and they keep leaving, right? The Rock is the biggest movie star of all time at this point. He left, right? So in what world would Vince McMahon and the E want to make more stars, right? They would benefit far more if instead of making new stars, they made no stars like they're doing now, and then went out of their way and hired a few stars here and there to make an appearance, to do a match, you know, like Bad Bunny, fucking Logan Paul, a bunch of these people who aren't wrestlers. They're like, oh, you can wrestle one match, right? It'll be a big draw. People will care. Floyd Mayweather, right? They stopped making stars because they're like, oh, if we invest in the star, he can leave. But if we keep the star as a jobber, right? If we don't let's say, for example, this isn't true, but let's say, for example, Gunther had unbelievable star potential, unbelievable mass appeal, or Obafemi, or Trick Williams, or any one of these people that are never going to make it, right? If they did, WWE's going to be like, yeah, we're not going to let you do that. You know, you're going to be Gunther, right? So tomorrow, if Gunther is tasked with signing another contract or going elsewhere, oh, lo and behold, he has nowhere to go. Because nobody's going to be paying Gunther WWE money to do anything else in his life, right? He's not a real athlete. He's not a great actor. He's not a great athlete because he's not a real athlete, right? WWE is the only game in town, Cooks. So with that being said, it's like he's never going to be able to become mainstream. Now, granted, like I said, Gunther doesn't have that capacity, but some people might, right? Some people might have that capacity, right? Like The Miz, for example, right? The Miz had that capacity. He's had a successful media career. You know, he's been on TV for a long time. He's been in movies. He's had that, right? Some people have that capacity. And some of them are soldiers like The Miz, and some of them are not, right? And it's as simple as that, motherfucks. Simple as that. But there's an opportunity cost for that. And that opportunity cost is we no longer, right? We no longer have any household names. So now we're reduced to watching jobbers. And when a household name comes into WWE, this weird-ass tribe mentality of losers starts, and they're like, oh, you're not one of us. Yeah, we know. You know, and I'm going to make a video about this too, but this idea where they're like, oh, Logan Paul isn't one of us. Yeah, he knows that, and everyone knows that. That's why he's there, dumbass. That's why he's getting paid $5 million, because he's not one of you. You know, but that's another video for another time. Anyways, I wanted to get my thoughts out there on the importance of household names. Wrestling can never be mainstream if there are no mainstream champions or any kind of mainstream success. You dig?